Hey everybody, welcome to Swedenborg Live. Really excited to be here with you. I am Curtis Childs and I'll be your host tonight as we take an hour to delve into the nature of life and spiritual and physical and where they meet. And I couldn't be happier to do that with anyone other than all of you who are watching and the excellent panelists that we have on today. So I'm going to check in with them as we get started here. Yeah, there's me. Told you that's who I was. So the first panelist that we have in our all-star cast is Cara Dom. Cara, how are you?
Hi, Curtis. I'm doing well, thanks. I love the end of the summer. I can't believe it's already September, and it's just always fun to anticipate what's going to happen in the next hour here tonight. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Yes, the sense of foreboding yet excitement. You don't know what it's coming, but it's going to be big, whatever it is. Cool. Good to see you, Cara. We also have Chelsea. I'm just checking like what the next one is alphabetically. Chelsea is here. Chelsea Odner. Welcome, Chelsea.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. And yeah, I love this time of year when you remember that the season of fall exists and we get to live it soon. And yeah, same with Cara. It's always fun to be together and think about these topics together.
Yeah, totally looking forward to it. And we have one last guest rounding out our panel. It's Karen Childs. Karen, how are you doing?
Hi, doing great. We had a exciting thunderstorm here in the Chicago area this afternoon, and then it cleared and was a little cooler. So yeah, enjoying just seeing some thunderstorm and blue sky and all the changes in nature. And it's a wonderful world. And I'm really enjoying reading Secrets of Heaven 3, and Secrets of Heaven 4 was just published. Anyone who's interested, check it out on the Swedenborg.com website. Glad to be here.
It's too much, man. Two Swedenborg books in a year. It's like the Beatles just released like 2 albums. It's awesome. Good work to Chelsea and the whole NCE team getting those out. I can't wait to get my hands on number 4. Now, I'm still not through number 3, so life is really, really good. We're blessed. I also want to say thanks, speaking of great things happening, to Steve Turtle, who sponsored today's episode. So we just got done with a great conversation with him, and because of him, we get the games automatically. Usually we have a fundraiser where we have to hit a certain amount in order to do these bonus games, Swedenborg knowledge games. But because he made that donation, all of you get those for free. So thank you, Steve. And it's so great to get to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more. Thanks for all the support that you've given us. That's not to say that you can't join Steve in supporting our not-for-profit mission. If you want to, just go to offtheLefteye.com or otle.com/donate, and you can make a contribution. When you do, it'll show up right there. You'll get a heartfelt thanks from all of us, and you'll know you helped make what we do possible. So don't be shy. Go to offtheLefteye.com/donate. Okay, get your questions in the YouTube chat. That's where we pull them from live, and we'll do our best to give you good answers on that. So let's see what the first one is. It's from Wesley Morton, who asks, you ready, panel? Here we go. Did Swedenborg have any visions of advanced technology in his travels in other realms? If so, has it come to manifest on Earth since his time? Did he see the original Nintendo Entertainment System around somewhere? Yeah, so what do you think, Karen? Was there any accounts of machines yet to come?
I don't recall visions that he was seeing devices or machines in particular, but I always think about that when he was describing people in the afterlife can just see scenes of stories and memories and all sorts of things just there playing out in front of them. That's what we see now on movie screens and TV screens and things like that. And that there was nothing like that in his day. So he wasn't describing it like a device so much, but he was just describing this happens, like things play out visually before people's eyes in the afterlife. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, can I just jump in on that one and say there is at least one passage that talks about it happening on the walls in the homes of heaven. And it was our good old Dr. Jonathan Rose who said to me once, that sounds like TV, doesn't it? And I just never equated the two, but it makes sense now. And what a mind-blowing concept that would have been in 1770, that there would be moving pictures on the wall. One thing he does talk about is architecture. That's not exactly technology, but he somehow mentions architecture as being the art of arts in heaven, and an incredible kind of thing that, I don't know, that's the closest I can think of.
Well, I think he says that like all architecture, and maybe even just says all art, like originates in heaven. Like I think he does use that word. But anyway, we did a show called, I think we called it How Advanced Technology Exists in Heaven. And because, yeah, like Karin said, it's not quite like Swedenborg was like, wow, I went into this room and they were making all of these machines that they then were holding in people's pockets and pressing buttons, or something like that. He's not seeing it that way. It's more that the things he does witness of just the way things work in the spiritual world seem very easy to imagine now with the technology that we have. So you just think there's got to be some kind of connection there. And the other one is VR, augmented virtual reality, so immersive, that people can just, like, you don't need the tech, you just get the fully immersive virtual experience of anything and everything. I mean, like he describes people being in full, these imaginary heavens, he calls them, that just exist for as long as they, are exploring it, and then it's done. It's over. It's not like that exists apart from their just that imaginative virtual experience that they were on, but where it involved all their senses. So it seems almost like it's a level of augmented virtual reality that's sort of even beyond, what we're capable of producing now, and yet it seems very similar to what we're experiencing, like people being put in virtual experiences to help them grow. It's all like, it almost seems like it's therapeutic, like which is interesting to read about the therapeutic application of VR that people are exploring now in terms of like being able to help people cope with their fears and things like that using VR. So there certainly seems like there's connections there, even if it's not quite one-to-one.
Yeah, I love that equating that all of you are doing between the phenomena that he saw there, and maybe didn't even take the time to develop language around, but which now resembles a lot of what's going on here. It seems to me that you can look at the pace of technology and how fast it's changing the nature of the world and sort of think, where's this going? Is this train off the tracks? But it seems like what almost all technology is doing is making the physical world more spiritual world like. It's almost like it's the other way around, like that rather than spiritual piece of technology becoming manifest in the physical world, there are spiritual conditions that through technology are becoming manifest in the physical world. I did this paper in college way back 50 years ago that was about how Swedenborg's spiritual world operates alarmingly just like the internet does. And there was nothing like the internet back then, but everything that's happening right now in this show, as we're saying, look, there are representations all around me right now. There are the chat has popped up in here. We can see a record on the wall of people who have made contributions. Oh, by the way, thank you, Mary, and thank you, Jonathan. We've had 2 donations come in, and we really appreciate your faith and confidence in what we're doing and your support of us. So thank you. And that's donations have just flown in through the miracle of technology, across all these wires and things. And all of you are all over the place, but yet we all share a common interest and we're thinking about each other. So now we can just gather based on what we're interested in, and regardless of geographical difference. The internet functions so much like the spiritual world does. Everything that we can do now, you can talk to anyone anywhere just by thinking about them. You have to type it with your hands, but it's pretty close. And I know we're even trying to move farther in that direction. as Chelsea was pointing out, you can now immerse yourself in simulated worlds that have a purpose. So it seems like spiritual world's coming here. I do want to say, with what Carl was saying about architecture and those representations on the walls, I believe it's in the same passage that he's describing buildings that were so high you couldn't see the top of them, which it's in the Journal of Spiritual Experiences, which are like skyscrapers, but there was no skyscrapers back then. And he also talked about how you could move from one house to another without leaving the building. I think that's the most concrete description of something that is now common on Earth that wasn't before. But overall, it's more like you all are saying, that the spiritual world may not need as much technology in the same way, because everything that we try to accomplish with technology, even the having the abundance of food that technology has brought us. In heaven, food, he says, they are given food gratis, because it's there. It's kind of like what it's moving towards here. So good question. And thanks everybody for your input there. Let's take our next one. And this is from Susie, who asks, my son died by suicide in our home. I am terrified when we move, his soul will remain there and not follow us. Please help me with this. Oh, man. Sorry, Susie. That is unbelievably difficult thing to go through, and thank you for being willing to share it with us. Karin, do you have some initial thoughts on Susie's concern that she'll be leaving something of her son behind?
Susie, my heart breaks for you. What a painful thing to go through. But don't worry for one moment about that. His soul is with you. His love is with you. His soul is with you. So wherever you go, his soul and his heart are not with a physical house. They're with the people he loves. And so he is fine and healing in the afterlife, and he will, his presence will move with you where you go, because in the afterlife, in spiritual terms, where he is living fully now, love brings union, thought brings presence. So his thoughts about you and your thoughts about him, his love for you and your love for him, that is what keeps him close to you. It doesn't matter where you go physically. He will be with you wherever you go.
Yeah, and another thought connected to that, and definitely my heart goes out to you, Susie. I can appreciate how hard it is to move from a home that holds a lot of memories and a lot of history, whether those are good or difficult. Like, it's just the places we live do seem to carry like this meaning for us. And so, but something Swedenborg says is how, all of our memories are stored inside of us and in the afterlife. But I also think sometimes in dreams and stuff, like, you can have memories that just get opened that you didn't think you would, remember or something. And it can be as if it's like, real, like all the feelings, all the sort of like that is still there. And so I just think of all of the good memories and just the shared history that you have with your son. That is still this real connection that you have in the shared memories that you have. And so that will continue no matter where you are. And then that's something, when you are reunited with him, you'll be able to be, having those shared memories together, like processing that kind of stuff together, even if you've left that, obviously now, but then in the future, leaving the actual physical presence of that home. I've just been amazed that, certain places, homes, houses that held particular significance in my life, I can sometimes have dreams where it just feels like I'm there, totally, and can remember everything, of what that space smelled like, felt like, everything. So just to say, you're not losing your connection with him, and you're not losing, there's no erasure happening to, spiritually, to what history is there in the sense of like, not for that to be a burden, but like that it's not being forgotten. It can be, there's healing, there's goodness in that. And that's what you can be carrying, forward.
Yeah, Susie, my heart is with you too. Such a difficult thing to go through. What's dropping into my mind right now is that I grew up in a big family. And when my parents got old, they built a little tiny house right next door for them to move into. And I remember just feeling, oh, there's going to be such grief to just not be going to see them in the big house where we all grew up. But within a week of them moving into the little house, I was like, oh, I'm coming to see them. I'm not, they are the thing that I grew up with, Not that the house is insignificant, but I'm just thinking even more so in a case like this where his world is completely spirit. He fully now inhabits the spiritual world, while we're just part way there. We're sort of half here and half in the spiritual world. And so your son just absolutely, to me, will just be with you. That's the love. Love is spiritual magnetism. Love is what pulls people together. And so wherever you go, he's going to be right in your heart, like he always has been.
It's really kind of ties to the last question, because we're talking about the difference between spiritual and physical. And yeah, the house is physical, but your son and you are spiritual, and the love that you have is spiritual. And so it's a great point that connection is absolutely still there. And the fascinating thing is, like, as you were alluding to, Chelsea, that I think that the house is in you. And Swedenborg talks about in the spiritual world there being the same places that there are in the physical world. He talks about, he spent a lot of time in London. He said there's a London in the spiritual world. That all the people who lived in London, they bring that in their minds with them, and that sort of creates this London around them. So I would think that gets granular to the point where I just... In my childhood home, I moved out of the state, and my parents sold it, and nobody lives there anymore. So I don't think I'll ever see inside it again. But I just feel like, oh, it's there in me. And someday I do have dreams about it, and I feel like, oh yeah, we're just all going to be there. And I think that I would imagine that the plan of Providence is to someday have you and your son be able to make another happy memory in that house. Together. I mean, I would think that's the divine will. So thank you for being willing to share that with us, as we said. Okay, let's go to the next question. Let's see. So this is from Colin Vickers, who says, what are some of the features that differentiate the world of spirits from earth, as well as from heaven and hell? What is it? What's this world of spirits got? Which, for anyone who doesn't know, Swedenborg talks about the spiritual world, which is everything spiritual, heaven, hell, and the world of spirits, which is the place in between heaven and hell where we first go after we die. So what are the distinctive features of that? Cara, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. The first one that comes to mind is what Dr. Rose always says about how it's an honest world. What's going on inside you is visible on the outside. And that sure is not the way it is here. I mean, there can be duplicity and all kinds of things going on here, but in the world of spirits, I believe it starts there. And that's one of the things that helps us come to terms with who we are, is that we can't fake it anymore.
And it's interesting that in the world of spirits, there's this sort of combination of honesty and the last vestiges of faking it. Because like once you've gone all the way to heaven or hell, you look like what your soul is really like. You talk like what's in your heart. Whereas the spiritual world, that place is happening. I mean, the world, yes, the world of spirits, that place is, the thing is happening. So you'll say there's people who like hypocrites who are still speaking smoothly, but it's starting to like grate in their voice. There's this, it's this like almost like a tidal estuary where it's part brackish water and part salt water. So there's part of the physical world rules and part of the spiritual world rules are there. So yeah, before I hand it off, I don't know if I ever said thanks to Bernhard, who made a generous contribution. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support of our mission. Karin, what do you think?
Yeah, as you've both gone over, moving from this work from Earth to the world of spirits, there's a gradual falling away of an ability to make pretenses and things like that. It's so interesting to me that Swedenborg describes the world of spirits as a place with a process to it. We're allowed to make this adjustment from physical life to spiritual life, and it's not all of a sudden. It's a little gradual. So we have a state where we can still sort of keep up appearances, but then we do need to have the opportunity and the necessity to take a look at what's really going on inside us, so that we have the freedom to really sort out who we want to be and everything. So the world of spirits has that coming out, and we go through that process. And also, unlike in this world, things can spontaneously change around us according to what's going on inside of us. In the world of spirits, compared to heaven or hell, people can still be among each other for a while, even if you're not in sync in spirit. If you're not internally compatible, there's a little bit of ability to still interact, and that's again for the sake of you sorting out who you are and having different people to respond to and this and that. But once you move into heaven, what's different about heaven is you are rescued and withheld from all the negativity that had burdened you, on earth. If you're a person who is going towards love, but it's a struggle, heaven is a freedom from your lower ego that is has negativity in it. That's made dormant, unless there's some time for you to go over it again a bit or cycle so that you can get even more deeper into love and everything. You are at peace because you're rescued from the daily harassments that we go through in this world, where we're bombarded by negativity as well as receiving goodness. And people who choose a hellish path have rejected that goodness, so they don't have to like wrestle with anything. They could just be who they want to be. And so heaven and hell are actually more peaceful places. Hell isn't a peaceful place because people are being mean to each other, but as far as inside yourself, there's more peace because you have made your choice and you're not sort of wrestling back and forth between different things. You are home, basically. So there's some thoughts.
Nice. And I have one other thought that crosses my mind of a difference between the world of spirits from earth and heaven, at least. I'm not sure about hell, but Swedenborg does seem to describe that the language, how we communicate is pretty different. On earth, it takes the longest and it's the hardest to communicate, to have to put these words together and then have to make sense of it. But then in the world of spirits, there's still, it seems like it's that same kind of, it can be a mix of communication, but it's largely happening, kind of essentially telepathically, I guess. But then he just describes that then as you go deeper into the layers, the levels of heaven, he has a hard time even trying to convey what the language is like and what the sounds and communication is like, because it's so packed with meaning and So he hears things from angels, and then he walks away and he tries to say it to other people, and he can't put it into words because it's just like it's in him, but he can't even put it into words on like the language of the lower levels. And I've never really thought about how that kind of has its opposite in hell, but anyway, so at least it's a difference between earth, world of spirits, and levels of heaven.
Yeah, these are a lot of great ones that I hadn't thought of before. One that popped into mind while you were talking is that the world of spirits has a connection to the human race in a way that at least hell doesn't. I don't know if it works out with heaven too, because I believe Swedenborg talks about how there are evil spirits with people and angels with people, but the evil spirits that are with us, it seems that while they're with us, they come up, he seems to indicate in a couple passages, they come up into the world of spirits for a while they're having that journey of influence on us. So there's something, hell is more like you're in some kind of Tupperware where he'll describe certain spirits that their aura is so toxic that if they're let out of there, it causes all these problems. So they can kind of get out on this special assignment where they'll be in a position to access us. So it seems like our spirits are directly connected to the world of spirits. I don't think there's anywhere where he talks about that happening with angels needing to come into the world of spirits to influence us. But maybe that's just because they have a more straightforward way of interacting with the communities there. But that was something that, it's close. It's so close to the human race. And that when he talks about the equilibrium getting off or things getting threatened, he talks about the state in the world of spirits. And when that gets really shifted in one direction, that has a direct impact on human consciousness, even though there may be plenty of angels who are doing a great heavenly life thing in heaven. Because the world of spirits is compromised, human consciousness is compromised. So that's a thought on that. Hey, we've got 2 donations. One from Christy. Thank you. One from Stephanie. Thank you. Appreciate it. It touches all of our hearts that you feel like what we're doing is valuable. So thank you so much. Speaking of that, we are going to take a moment now, since it's halftime, to honor all of the people who have given of their hard-earned cash to the Swedenborg Foundation this month. So first I want to put up a graphic honoring all the people who have donated to Swedenborg Foundation from 7/18 to 8/21. There'll be another screen coming, but hope you know how much each of you means to us and that you've made this possible. Also, if you want to give a lasting tribute reminder to a loved one, we have a tribute wall. If you make a contribution of $25 or more, you can put something up in honor or in memory of someone. It's just another way for you to connect your donation to somebody that you care about. And now we're going to give something back to you. We do a raffle every show, and this time anybody who is on that donors list that we showed before has a chance to win this raffle. So let's spin the wheel and see who we got. The winner is Cheryl Gibson. And what Cheryl's going to get is pretty awesome. She's going to get, those are 2 albums there of Off the Left Eye music. So this is the music that has appeared in our programs, in the background, sometimes in the foreground. There's 2 albums. Chelsea, do you want to talk about what their names are and what that means?
Sure. So they're titled with Latin words, esse and existere, and that comes from a particular number in Divine Love and Wisdom, the Latin of Divine Love and Wisdom, where Swedenborg is describing these 2 aspects of the divine beingness, like the underlying reality of God, and then existere is the always becoming manifest, this manifesting quality of God. So the power to become manifest is one way that it's translated. And so these 2 qualities, esse and existere, is this being, you can sort of hear the sound of essence in there, that underlying reality, and then the power to become manifest. And so in the album, and in our shows. Reed McCardle is the main musician mastermind of this music, and a number of the tracks are kind of more ambient, like contemplative, and that's the Essay album. And then the Existere album is sort of more percussive and energetic. And so we thought that was fun to divide the albums in those two ways and give you a full sort of spectrum of experience in the music. So that's where that came from.
So we hope you enjoy your early access to that music. For the rest of you, if you are intrigued by that description, we are soon going to be rolling out a community member platform where if you become a community member, which many of you would already be, you will get access to quite a number of perks, including links to get these albums and rock out to Off the Left Eye music on your own. So thank you to everyone who donated in the last month and a half. Okay, back to the questions. Let's take a look at our next question, which is from Richard Stevens. He says, if someone has mental problems in this world caused by evil spirits, what happens when they enter the spiritual world? And what happens to the evil spirits that they don't have that person to hurt? We were almost touching on this in the last question, but Karin, yeah, what do you think?
Well, for the person who was suffering from the mental illness, what will happen to them is blessed clarity, crossing into the afterlife. In this world, we're so blocked here, and the voices of evil spirits can seem to someone like their own mental, their own voice or their own thoughts, and they can be tortured by that, or they can hear voices and not understand what's going on. So crossing into the afterlife, where we shed all the physical barriers, there'll be blessed clarity for this person to see and understand what's been going on, where these voices have been coming from, or where these thoughts that were upsetting in the mental illness. And Swedenborg found that just his ability, when he had his spiritual sight open and he could see what communities of spirits certain thoughts were coming from, and that just gave him such clarity and objectivity about the thoughts that would enter his mind. And so a person crossing into the afterlife now has the ability to see, oh, those thoughts, that's where they were coming from, that group of spirits over there. And now I can see, like, I don't want to listen to those people, or good thoughts that was coming from here. I want to get closer to those people. So wonderful clarity. I've never thought about what would happen to the evil spirits. I have never pictured evil spirits just who plague people in mental illness or just in our own upsetting thoughts as being only attached to one person. Like, I imagine any one of them would be harassing a lot of people. So I would just think they would continue to do that with other people that they could. But it probably, their evil spirits are also going through processes too. And who knows what shifts might be going on for them as different people that they've been, harassing cross into the afterlife. I don't know. And I don't remember anything specific about that, but I do know the person who was the victim will be having such beautiful clarity and able to break free of just being victimized by them and empowered to make their choices clearly and rationally.
Nice. Yeah, the one thing that's coming to my mind, because I was similarly intrigued by the second half of the question of, like, what happens to the evil spirits when they don't have that person to hurt. Something Swedenborg describes is that, particularly when it comes to evil spirits, they're kept from knowing who they're with. They are in the dark about it. He describes that they're not allowed to know. Like, that's a protection, a sort of spiritual protection, is they're just involved in their evil. And like we talked about, sort of this gravity, magnetism that love has in the spiritual world. So they're finding that alignment with people who are sharing that, having a access point in their own spirits. And but so the evil spirits might be kind of, I don't know if you would describe it as like kind of like getting a hit or like feeding off of that in some way, but they don't know it's that, they don't know personal details, that's kept from them. So it's not quite the like, oh, there she goes, let's go after her and let's harass her some more. It's kind of like if they're just that, scribble of that energy that we kind of share that aura with. And so I don't know if there's quite a one-to-one, like a particular person, what happens to those evil spirits, like Karin was saying. I think they're just having that sort of a spiritual connection to a number of people, and there's no, like, it's not sort of time and space don't matter in the same way in the spiritual world. But I do think overall there is an effect to, it just makes me think of like the positive influence of us doing spiritual work, like doing healing work, how that can even sort of ultimately have an impact on kind of lessening the impact on everybody, like less amplifying all of that same stuff. So I feel like there's got to be some sort of a response there. But I guess I'm remembering right now that, Swedenborg, often one of his a classic thing is how what is spiritual flows into what is earthly and not the other way around. And so I don't know. Anyway, I just wonder how that kind of fits in with this too, in terms of evil spirits having an influence. But I don't know. But then we still have a choice, so we can move on, change what we want to focus on.
I wonder, with you saying that, if so we all have spirits with us. He talks about a good and an evil spirit with our will, and a good and evil spirit with our intellect. I wonder if the evil spirits that are harassing us are actually harassing the evil spirits that are with us. Because it says that the evil spirits, one of the ways that they don't know they're with us is that they come into all of our knowledge and think it's their own. Like they think they are us in a certain sort of way. So it could be that if you have, what, is this weird or something? It could be that if you had evil spirits who are kind of embodying and stirring up all your negative stuff, and they're there in the spiritual world, if other evil spirits gain access to people through their evil, are going there and harassing that spirit that's coming through and hitting us. I don't know. It's wild speculation. Wild. Okay, thanks for the question, Richard. Let's look at the next one. This is from Gordon Ramsay, who says, do people still hold on to their philosophical theories in the afterlife? For example, are physicalists, a radical ontological claim that all is physical, still physicalists in the world of spirits? I love ones where I feel like there is an answer. We got a clear answer, and I think this is one of those. Kara, am I right?
Well, I'll give you my thoughts. What comes to mind immediately is a story that Swedenborg tells about encountering some newcomers to the other world. They thought that they were going to be little puffs of air and, just nothing substantial. And I don't remember if it's Swedenborg himself or some nearby angel that says, oh, no, just step aside and check yourself out. You'll find out. You'll see. You actually have bodies. You've got bodies. And so that's just, to me, an example of a philosophical construct that just gets blown out of the water the minute they arrive. So that's one story.
Yeah, I think also what jumps to my mind is just similarly, Swedenborg talked to a lot of people in the afterlife who didn't believe in an afterlife. So that's just it's the classic one. Some pretty funny conversations going on with angels where people are just like, that's not what they don't believe in an afterlife. And the angels kind of have to break it to them that, nope, you've passed on. Like, welcome to the afterlife. So yeah, Karin.
Yeah, I would say the answer to, do people still hold on to their philosophical theories in the afterlife? it depends on how tenaciously they're hanging on to them. Because as both Cara and Chelsea have said, if people are holding it lightly enough and have some open-mindedness to learn, maybe it's not that way, maybe it's different, it's going to be very quickly obvious. Like in Cara's example, like, oh, I do have a body. I'm not a puff of air. However, Swedenborg also described many people who just tenaciously hung on to their materialistic philosophies. He talks about people in hell who still believe they never died. Like they don't believe in an afterlife, even though they're there. So it has to do with the stubbornness factor. If any of us are stubborn enough, and you can see it in this world too. You probably have heard of something that you can't believe somebody still thinks that way because there's so much evidence to the contrary, and yet they're just hanging on to that opinion. Our stubbornness or our openness goes with us, and there's methods in the afterlife for helping us gradually let go of false philosophies, false thinking, but how difficult that will be depends on how open-minded we are. And so Swedenborg does encourage us, and it's just good practice to hold things lightly. Like, we just know that we need to, work to understand things and make sense of life, but hold it lightly. Just have the wisdom to know I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and don't hold on to it too tenaciously, because that will make it much easier in the next life to just go, oh, I see now, rather than just like, nope, and block it out.
These have all been great examples. And I think what I was thinking when I said, I think there's an answer to this, was more along the lines of what Karin mentioned at the end, of people who were in a state of denial of the basic facets of life. But it's true that just as often people have their misconceptions blown up. Another famous example of that, famous in Swedenborg circles, is the false heavens that were mentioned earlier, that people have a certain idea of what heavenly happiness is, and so they say, okay, here you go, get into this VR kind of simulation and go try that out. And they come back and check on them and say, how's that working out for you? And they say, oh, never mind, I hate this, I was wrong. So that by that, there's certainly means to divest people of that. But there is also the principle that the heart brings you back. So when people are in the afterlife, it seems like anybody can be convinced of the truth for a little while. And even all the evil spirits Swedenborg talked to, he says that they can be shown, oh yeah, actually the life that I lead is really cruel and it's bad, and there is really God, and God is really good, and they can know that in their mind. But if in your heart you love the pleasure of evil, eventually that pleasure of evil can't coexist with the truth. So almost out of mercy, the spiritual mind has the ability to explain away just like anything. So, and people do this physically as well, but people will say, oh, it was just, that I don't really believe that. And they'll go back to their core beliefs, because those core beliefs are what allow the life of what they love to have. So Swedenborg would talk about, you mentioned earlier in the show, Martin Luther and him holding on to his philosophies, and he changed and reformed, but he talked about other people who, I think he said, what Aristotle is doing well because, and to fight to the bitter end against the truth of Christianity that they're purporting to support. So it seems like both. But sometimes, but your ideas do matter. And as I think, Karin, you made a great point. If your pride is wrapped up in them, and if your worldview depends on them, they can get really sticky. It can get hard to get rid of them. So, okay, cool. Any other thoughts on that? We're pretty good? Okay, cool. Let's talk about Sean Smith for a minute here. Sean Smith asks, can we have future memories? So what do you take this question to mean, and what do you take the answer to be, Cara?
What what comes to mind at first is that God alone is the person who is in all time apart from time. So future, past, present, whatever, he's there. But I don't think that applies to us. One thing that Swedenborg says is that one of the things that one of the sources of heavenly happiness for the angels is that they don't dwell in the present, and they don't dwell in the past, and they don't worry about the future, and they're just in the present all the time. So that, to me, thinks maybe not even the angels are having future memories. But those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah. Yes. Only God is there in past, present, and future fully. I think that, the Lord also carefully regulates in part of the happiness of being in the present in heaven is the Lord gently regulates people's memory of the past so that only things are coming up that wouldn't, distress you or mess with your freedom or your happiness in the moment. Because think of how much on earth we, getting pulled into the past or worries about the future are messing with our happiness. And I think that seeing something that's, a future prediction or premonition is possible, but it would just be given by the Lord if it would be useful for some reason. It's not something that Swedenborg talks about much at all, and doesn't seem to be something that angels don't always know the future. But I do think I've got the indication that if there was a use for it, that can happen because the Lord is already there. He can just open that window for somebody if like Swedenborg knew what day he would die, for instance, and that can happen, but it's all according to usefulness.
Yeah, I think that's right on. And it is interesting, at least in the literal stories in the Bible, there's lots of angels knowing the future and letting people in on what's happening, especially in the Christmas story. It's that there's this knowing, and they can tell people that. So you also wonder if future memories are also being sort of, Swedenborg says all of our thoughts and feelings flow in from the spiritual world. So it's we can have that. If angels are a little bit more connected, and then God is also flowing in. So it's a similar thing where I feel like when it's useful, it seems like that's possible. And in terms of that doesn't mean that there's a predestination or something. There's still this, or that our lives are fully mapped for us, because there's something about the way I sort of see it or imagine it is the divine, and so any angels from the divine know so thoroughly what is in everybody's hearts, and so can kind of convey that information to different people when it's really important. When you have all the data, you can kind of get it to the right people who need to know it in the right time, like Karin was saying, in useful situations, or where it's sort of there's a providence to it or something. So it is interesting. I have experienced what I would describe as future memories in dreams, dreaming of something that then happens in life. So it seems and sometimes the usefulness is not, it's sort of intuitive. Why did I see that? But anyway, I think, so it's an interesting thought, future memories. It's a fun idea, but something like that sort of happens. I think what Karin and Kara said was spot on.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you, Sean Smith. Hey, you muted me, Stuart.
Cool. Curtis, are you there?
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Oh, we might have lost him.
Should we jump into the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've got something to say. Hello, Juan. I was talking to you about this earlier in the comment section under one of the shows. I did do
Oh, you need to read the
Will you
question.
read the question?
Juan, sorry. Juan asks, many consider Christianity a female-founded religion because the first witness to the resurrection was a woman, Mary Magdalene, who also anointed him as king. What does Swedenborg say regarding Mary Magdalene? I did a search in one of our search engines, and her name came up once in the search, and it was only talking about the story. The focus of the passage was about the brightness and the shining of Jesus's garments. So it's a little disappointing if you're looking for what Swedenborg says about Mary Magdalene. But what I can say is that Sony Werner, a Swedenborgian psychologist, did a deep dive into Mary Magdalene. She got very, very fascinated with her as a character, as a person. So there's a book called Searching for Mary Magdalene by Sony S. Werner, which does include Swedenborg in some of the discussions. So maybe that'll help you out. And I just saw you can get it on Amazon. Karen?
Yeah, so true. Yes, I think in Swedenborg's published works, Mary Magdalene's only mentioned that once, like Cara says. I did find in one of his unpublished works another couple of mentions, but it's always just in reference to like she saw the angels in the shining garments. She was asked to go tell the disciples that Jesus had risen. She witnessed the earthquake. So it's Swedenborg isn't really talking much about her as a person. He's just describing these phenomenon, which are spiritual, like when people see angels, their spiritual sight has been opened, and that go tell my brethren, when she was told to go tell the disciples that Jesus was risen, that represents go tell everybody, because the disciples represented everybody who wants to follow the Lord. But I think we can, so Swedenborg doesn't have much to say about her, but just from the descriptions in the New Testament in mind, because she was willing to, she was the first one to see him. She saw the angels, so she was open. Her spiritual sight was open. She immediately accepted the truth that Jesus was risen, whereas the other disciples were more having doubting troubles and everything, but she just accepted it right away, just went and did as Jesus asked her. So she obviously was someone with a very open heart and open mind, and I think she must represent a part of us that's an affection, a love for seeking the Lord, and that can live in our own hearts too. That part of us is who's going to first see the Lord and be able to spread it to the more external parts of our mind and things like that. So he doesn't have a whole lot to say about her, but I think that just what the Bible tells us about her, and Swedenborg just talking about openness and spiritual sight and all this, and open heart, like what you are looking for, you will find, that kind of spiritually. I think to me, she's a very admirable person.
Yeah, and I just think, like, Swedenborg, like you say, doesn't say anything super direct about Mary Magdalene, but he does talk about how all the people in the Bible, even if they're historically real, are represent spiritual qualities, which was what Karin was getting at the end there, of like, it's not about the people and them moving around and doing certain things and having certain events happen. It's that is this spiritual map of it's a map of our spirits and our spiritual growth process. And it's there for us to be able to read that map and go on the spiritual journey of our own regeneration. And so that cool quality of Mary Magdalene, in so many ways, being the part of us that is pretty, can be run down or get caught up in stuff, in earthly stuff, but then somehow has this humility and sees, is the one to really recognize Jesus, for who Jesus is, which is like this presence of divine truth, that like the emissary of divine hearts and minds. So that's pretty cool. So
Am I back?
Curtis is,
Hello?
hey, maybe he's back.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay.
You.
I can hear all of you. I heard what you said about me.
You hopped out from that one question about Christianity being a female-founded religion. I wondered why you.
You know that I have a crusade against. Thanks,
You left
Juan.
it up to us.
Thanks, Juan, for that question. I would have said exactly what they said. And now it's time to go to the games. Again, thanks to Steve Turtle, who sponsored this whole thing. These games are brought to you by Steve. And we're going to do the first one, which is where it's us against a clever AI. We're going to do grading Swedenbot.
All right, here's grading Swedenbot. Am I hosting this little portion? Okay. So, like Swedenborg said, Swedenbot is an AI who we've fed all of Swedenborg's writings to, and then we get to grade his output month after month. And so far, we have not proven that AIs can be sentient, creative human beings, although that seems to be getting better and better with the technology these days. But let's see if Swedenbot is keeping up with the times. So, what you got? The Lord is the Word. Moreover, the human race could not be preserved for the new church.
Sentence is good. A+ for the first sentence.
Non sequitur.
Yeah,
The Lord is the Word. Moreover, it sounds like I'm tacking on to the fact that the Lord is the Word. The human race could not be preserved for the new church.
It's such a downer, that second sentence.
Yeah, but that
know.
the Lord being
And
the
not-
Word is like how the human race is preserved. So this is bad.
Yeah.
Not good.
False.
What do we say?
Second. Yep.
D, maybe? I don't know.
D. D.
Well, let's see.
D, all right.
Or
The deed is done. I see
Okay.
the D on there.
yeah.
is good.
Yeah, because if you get an F and an A,
Right.
That's, yeah, right? It's sort
for
of a
the two
mixed bag.
sentences. Yeah.
So, all right, let's see what the next one from Swedenbot is. Okay. Enlightenment occurs in the other world. People who are in the spiritual world have an angelic spirit inside a person.
That's not so bad.
It's not quite English, but it's not bad.
It's not bad concept-wise, yeah. Because even though, okay, you can achieve certain amount of enlightenment in this world, but Swedenborg does say it just, like, it's so much more in the afterlife when you shed this physical body. So I would buy that first sentence in terms of like, whoa, your eyes will really be open.
Okay.
Since we do have bodies in the spiritual world, according to Swedenborg. They're not physical, but we still have the experience of having a body, and inside and there are a fraction of our inner spirit. So that's not all.
Interesting. Wow. Are we thinking this is closer to like a B?
Yeah, let's give it a B.
Yeah, let's give him a B.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, probably the best grade Swedenbot's ever had.
In a few episodes.
All right, last one. The Lord will come near, and his kingdom will be called demonic visions.
Oh, F. Oh, boo.
There we go. Sorry.
I think
You peaked. I think Swedenbot has peaked. We just experienced Swedenbot's peak, and now.
you can't do that. You can't blaspheme the Lord. You get the F.
Yeah.
But the Lord will come near. The Lord will come near.
F plus.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Swedenbot. Good try.
thanks, Swedenbot.
Thank you, Swedenbot.
Back to work.
Okay, and so now that we're all like up to speed on what Swedenborg sounds like by seeing what he does and doesn't sound like in Swedenbot, we should all be able to guess that Swedenborg phrase, which is our next game.
Yahoo!
Yay! This is a game in which we try to guess, our panel tries to guess this real Swedenborg phrase, guessing a letter at a time. And for every correct consonant, they get 5 points. For every correct vowel, 1 point. Wrong letter, you get -5 points. Guess the whole phrase, you get 20 points. But in the end, it's whoever has the most points doesn't have to do the elevator pitch. Oh, and also to guess the phrase incorrectly means you're out of the game. So we're going to start with Kara.
Woohoo! All right, I'll start with a T.
T. Yes, there are 2 T's. Good start.
Okay.
All right, 10 points. All right, Chelsea.
I will say H.
Yeah, 3 H's. Good start. Curtis.
I like to buy an S.
S. Oh, 5 S's. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
I want to guess the phrase.
Oh no, don't do it. Kara, back to you.
How about an L?
Let's see. Oh, no L's. Sorry. -5.
Oh, brutal. All right, I'm going to guess a G.
Yes, 2 G's.
All right, slow and steady, slow and steady.
Yeah. All right, Curtis, you're in the lead. What's your guess?
R.
R.
Yes. 3 R's. R. All right, Kara. Time to pull yourself back.
D, please.
Yes, 2 D's. 2 D's. Some words starting to form there. Chelsea.
Oh, well, I guess I'll just say E.
A lot of E's. 7 E's.
Okay.
Ooh. Just 1 point each, but that's a big help. Yay. All right, Curtis.
N.
Ooh, 5 N's.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. Kara, do you want to try?
How about P?
Yes, 2 P's.
Can I guess?
Yes.
God is said to open our eyes when he opens our inner sight.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. So there's a good correspondence, huh? Open our eyes when he opens our inner sight. It just can mean just open understanding in the mind, but also our spiritual sight. So, in spirituality, mental things are actual. So in the afterlife, when your inner sight is open, your understanding, you're actually seeing too. So
So you have that phrase open our eyes a lot in the biblical text, right? But
and giving sight to the blind and everything.
and the actual like physically opening your eyes, it's not that big of a deal. But spiritual opening our eyes, opening the inner sight, it's just a great way to infill something simple and physical and understandable with something more meaningful. Like, my eyes have been opened, something good is going on.
Yeah. So true. Well, Curtis is the big winner, which means you are exempt.
It's a terrible system, man. I didn't even guess it, and I got to be exempt.
Even though
Man, I won by like 15 points because of those ends.
Yeah, that's right.
Dang.
Yes.
Thank you for inner. The word this is brought to you by the word inner. So that means that we're going on to the elevator pitch, but I won't be pitching. So let's see who it is.
Elevator pitch.
So this is a game where whoever gets selected randomly by a computer graphics wheel will have 1 minute to explain whatever topic is selected randomly to whoever they imagine they're on an elevator with. And this is, you're going to have to say what the Swedenborg concept means and why it's important. So let's take a look at our wheel of contestants and our wheel of topics and spin them both. It's going to be Chelsea talking about God's love. So we've just stepped onto an elevator. Hey, aren't you Chelsea from that internet show? What does Swedenborg say about God's love? In 3, 2, 1, go.
I am Chelsea from that internet show, and I would love to tell you about God's love. So you might think that God and the love that God has is somehow outside of you and needs to get into you, or you need to go find it, or you need to go do things to be able to, connect to it. But the truth is, it is inside of your spirit. God's love is, you have your own direct access point inside of your spirit, and it's always there. There's just things that can get in the way. And those layers, those confusing ideas and things that keep you from connecting to God's love, there's an easy and efficient process that you can go on to, safe and effective, to get rid of those blocks and connect to God's love. And 99 for 99.99 you can get it for cheap. Just kidding. It's free. Cheap is free. Okay.
Oh yeah. Always there.
It's always there.
It's not outside you. I love it.
And it's for everybody.
Yeah.
There's no angry God.
That's right.
It's a good angle that what's the first thing to say about God's love is that it's right there.
Yeah.
It's very present inside.
Yeah.
It's always
Yes. Well done.
Thanks,
Well done.
Chelsea. Thanks, everybody. We've come to the end of our time here. Thank you to our donors. We had 5 donors, raised a total of $485. Thank you for making this happen. If you're watching after the fact, or you're watching right now and you haven't made a contribution but want to, it's just offtheleft.com/donate. No problem there. You'll be able to support the work that the not-for-profit Swedenborg Foundation is doing. Thanks to everyone who did that. And I want to thank our panel for giving generously of their time and expertise tonight. So thank you so much, everybody, for having an excellent conversation.
It was a pleasure, as I suspected it would be. The mystery came true in a great way.
Yes. Oh, very, very fun. And I always learn so much. I just appreciate all of your questions and then all of the fellow panelists' minds, and I feel fed myself.
Yeah, thank you so much. Your donations are so helpful, and your presence and your questions are so wonderful. We love spending this time with you, and we wish you a beautiful week.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, hope you're having an excellent evening, and I hope that it gets even better with the concepts that we've all been able to chat about here. Remember, you got that God's love access point in you, and hopefully you feel that some in the next couple of days. Thanks, everyone. See ya.